Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Street Philosopher. This is my 10th recording. I recorded like 3 times, the audio never saved, so this is my first video. I guess this first video is I'm gonna make a few videos, maybe a compilation of my life with some philosophy, um, some ideas that I have. And maybe hopefully I could change the world from a better place. That's kind of where I'm trying to go to. I want to keep the mood of this channel positive. I want you guys to maybe learn something from me. So a little bit about myself. I'm a math teacher. I have a math degree. I have a lot of years of experience on the world. On students and family and just you're a teacher, I guess you see a lot of things. And then also growing up, I also saw a lot of things, like everybody else, right? So I'll try to learn from everything I do, and hopefully I can pass my knowledge, maybe some of my ideas, maybe encourage some of you to do some positive things in your life. So here's my first video. I want to talk about the 90s. I was born in 93, so that kind of tells you my age. I was just having this thought when I like to go for some long walks around my neighborhood, and I just thought about how the 90s was such a good time for me. I think it was a good time to be a child in the 90s, and I made a list of things that were pretty good. I'll just, no random order, I'll just start talking a bit. So, I want to talk about cars. Cars in the 90s was, cars that were made in the 90s at least were pretty amazing if you think about it. Japanese imports. I really do like Japanese imports, but I made a list here of cars that I thought were pretty good. I think the most iconic car in the 90s is the Supra. And I was thinking about now today, what is the most iconic car? If you would have told someone in, I don't know, in 1998, what's the most iconic car? I think they would just say the Supra. I mean, I knew about the car, the Supra, I think as early as when I was 6 years old. And the reason I know about that because my dad had a friend that was really into cars, and he would tell me that the Toyota Supra was the greatest car ever made. And I'm a kid, right? I just thought it was a pretty cool car. He had a model figure of the car. He didn't own a Supra, but he had a bunch of little model figures and stuff. And now when I think about it as an adult, I think back at that time, I'm like, man, this guy was right. And I was comparing it to today. I'm like, what iconic car do we have? Like, I was like, what? I mean, I'm not a 100% car guy, but I do know about cars. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, what car would you say is iconic in the last, I don't know, I'll give you another 6 years. What car would you say is iconic? And I would say, I mean, on the top of my head, I couldn't say anything. I don't know if the GTR was made in 2019 or 18, but I would say the GTR is probably an iconic car to me right now. Obviously, if you're really into cars, you'd probably say some really expensive car. But I think the Supra was affordable in the sense of it was achievable for most people. I think like the iconic cars now are probably not achievable for most people. Like, I mean, not on my teacher salary. I couldn't buy a Bugatti. I couldn't buy a Lamborghini. I couldn't buy all these things. But I would say if I was a teacher, maybe in the 90s, I think I probably could have afforded a Supra. It would have been tight, right? But I think the times lend itself for me to be able to get a Supra. So I'll put the Supra there. I'll put Chevy trucks. My dad had a Chevy truck from 94 actually, and he drove it all the way down to, I think he probably got rid of that truck maybe like 2015, okay? He didn't buy it new. He obviously bought it used sometime in 2000. I can't remember, but I'll tell you something about that Chevy truck. It went through everything. I mean, I never, I'm telling you right now, this is gonna sound nuts, but I don't remember my dad fixing anything in the truck. Like, as crazy as that sounds, I don't remember. I mean, obviously, changing tires, whatever, maybe brake pads, but I don't honestly remember. Oh, hopefully this didn't freeze. Okay. Please did not freeze. Okay, it's still recording. So I don't remember a time in which my dad fixed anything in the truck. That's how reliable those Chevy trucks are. And I don't know if you had one or your dad had one or maybe your grandpa, but if you ever owned one of those 90s Chevys, I'm telling you, they would run forever. Those trucks were indestructible. My God, that truck was white and the paint was chipping off, but it was still had somewhat the paint. And I'm telling you right now, my dad didn't take care of anything. So that thing was full of grease. It was a truck. It was a single cab too. I remember single cab. That thing, it did everything. My dad ran that thing to the literal ground. I think he got rid of it in 2015 because I think he lent it to someone, and apparently they did something to the transmission. I don't know. They got too much weight on it. But I remember those Chevy trucks, they were indestructible. They were literally made to withstand a nuclear bomb. I'm not even joking. I put the Mustang T version, which I'm talking about the Terminator version. That's probably the best Mustang I've ever seen. I mean, I know like I said, I'm not a huge car guy, and most people would say other things, but the Mustang Terminator edition, my I had a neighbor in, I would say, 2006 that had one, and it was amazing. The engine itself, like on top of it, I know it was signed. Like the guy who made the engine or the people, the last guy to put it. I don't remember what the lore is, but I remember they would sign it in the top of the car, and that thing was, it was just beautiful. It was a beautiful car, and now I think about it, I'm like, the beautiful cars are out of reach. Like, I mean, a Pagani, right? Those are, I don't know, millions of dollars a car. So beauty was achievable for the everyday person, I would say. Anybody that worked a regular job, I think, could have probably bought that Mustang Terminator edition. I mean, I don't know how the money, but I think it was achievable. I'm thinking about it right now, and it was achievable, and the car just had so much essence. And I would say nowadays, the cars that we have are just, I mean, they're not reliable. So that's like one thing. And they don't have that much style, in my opinion. They're very, I would say, they're very modernized. Obviously, a modern world, but they don't have the old grandpa interior. They don't have the swag. I mean, that's basically what it is. Cars back then had swag. Cars nowadays, in my opinion, I mean, I guess if I had I think $3 million is pretty swag, but you know what I mean? You would just have to pay that level of money. I put music, to be honest with you, I put my favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers. I didn't listen to them when I was younger, because when you're 6 and 7 years old, you don't really listen to a lot of music. I'm gonna be honest with you. I would listen to whatever they would put on the radio. My dad would put on the radio, but I don't remember these songs. But now, when I was a teenager, I went back, and the 90s was like my music. Like, I love Biggie Smalls. I think, Biggie Smalls, that there's a freestyle that he has called The Wickedest. And the first time I ever heard that freestyle, I was like, my God, what the fuck is this? This is insane. He had flow, delivery. He was articulate. I don't know, man. It was just such a good music. Like, there was more thought put into music. Like, now, I mean, I don't listen to modern rap. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's nothing modern rap that I listen to at all. Like, I can't tell you a song. I could tell you a song from the 2000s rap, but I can't tell you from now. I can't. Have I tried listening to some? Yes, I have. I mean, I think the person that kind of comes close to good music is Kendrick. I think Kendrick has some pretty good music when it comes to the rap thing. But other than that, I mean, it's not that good, at least I'm thinking about that. Red Hot Chili Peppers, I don't think there's a rock band currently in the year at least 2026 that has the level of talent that the Red Hot Chili Peppers. If there is, put it in the comment section. I'll check it out. I don't mind. But I think Red Hot Chili Peppers, when it comes to rock, I don't think it can be matched. I put Whitney Houston for music. Um, her voice, without all the modern amplification of what they add to people nowadays, I think is unmatched. If you listen to Whitney Houston singing, the only word that should come to your mind is perfection. Like, my mom was a big Whitney Houston fan. Mind you, she did not speak English, but I remember her sitting down and listening to Whitney Houston, translating it, having at least someone translate it for her, and she would tell me how beautiful her voice is. And I mean, I remember, my mom listening to Whitney Houston, and I think about nowadays modern, maybe Adele. Adele's good. She has a great voice. But I don't think someone matches the talent of Whitney Houston. I put Oasis here. Just the reason I put Oasis is I had a girlfriend back in 2008. That's all she listened to. And she introduced me to Wonderwall. I dedicated it to her. So it was made in the 90s. So I just put it there for that. Nirvana. Nirvana is a great band. I put it up here because it's a great little band to listen to. I want to talk about the TV shows. I would say objectively, TV shows now are probably better. I think we have spent, I think TV shows are much better, but I would say the 90s TV shows were like the starter. Like, I was a kid, so I put Power Rangers. I mean, I think every kid in the United States wanted to be a Power Ranger. It didn't matter if you're a girl or boy, you wanted to be a Power Ranger. So I thought it was pretty iconic, And everybody wanted to be the superhero, It's funny because the Power Rangers was all about protecting, the weak and the less fortunate, and that's why I always liked the Power Rangers, and I think they were a great message for people. I put Seinfeld. Seinfeld, I think, is the first introduction for me for comedy. I started watching Seinfeld maybe when I was like 14. Okay, it was made in the 90s, and honestly, it was hilarious. I mean, it's still hilarious to me. I really enjoy Seinfeld. If you've never seen Seinfeld, if you're like a Gen Alpha, Gen Z, you should probably check a look at Seinfeld. It's hilarious. It has, it's just a good time. It kind of shows you what the 90s New York more or less was like. Obviously, it's a fantasy world, but it was pretty good. I did put Jeffrey, Jeffrey, kind of rhymes with that guy. Jerry is a huge disappointment. I don't want to get into it, but basically, homie is 30 years old. He meets his 17-year-old wife. I mean, it is what it is. So I put huge disappointment as a person there. I didn't know that, The show is good. But yeah, that's something that came to my mind, I'm like, damn, I love Seinfeld, but Jerry he's a piece of shit. It is what it is. I put Pokemon TV show, being a kid, waiting for the show every weekend to come out. You had to wait a whole week. I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think people nowadays are used to waiting for things, but waiting a week for that Pokemon show. I remember sitting down, let's say if it was gonna play at 3, whatever. I would sit down at 2:30 and I would make sure that I would watch that show. No matter what, I would stay up to watch that show. It was the best show ever for me. Pokemon, I just reminisce a lot on Pokemon. I put it in culture because, I'll get to that. I put TV shows. This is going to sound funny. Hispanic, don't worry about it. But Don Francisco was the show I used to watch with my grandma. This show, it was like the pinnacle of Spanish TV. The guy would give a bunch of stuff for free. He would have artists, actors. They would do like story time. They would even have like a drama little skit going. And I put it there because I think it is actually probably in Latin America, it was probably the most watched show. I mean, people would literally lose their shit for this show. My grandmother actually got tickets and went with her, with my aunt to watch in Miami, I think in person. And it was just a great show. I looked forward to it. It was on Saturdays, I think. Yeah, Saturdays. I would sit down, we would watch it, and then basically when the show was over, it was time to bed, and it's a great time. You know, I was thinking about it. I'm like, grandma. But luckily, she's still alive. But that show, I remember watching it with her, and you know, it was great. So I put it there. 90s, Don Francisco. If you're Hispanic, if you've seen this, you know what I'm talking about. All right, clothing. I put baggy pants. Skinny jeans are a hard no for me. Thank God the 90s had baggy pants. I think they were just too baggy. I think the whole rap culture, baggy pants, is not for me. But thank God, at least it wasn't skinnies. Okay, skinny pants, they should just delete that. Don't, please do yourself a favor. Never, ever wear skinny pants. Just don't. It just doesn't look good. They don't look good with boots. They don't look good with sneakers. I genuinely don't think there is a look for a man in skinny pants. I don't think it's a thing. Can it ever be a thing? Who knows? But I personally don't think it's a good thing. Bucket hats was a thing of the 90s. I wear bucket hats. And the reason why I think bucket hats are the S tier of all hats is because of this. Whenever you see someone with a bucket hat, you never assume they're a bad person. Like, you look at someone with a bucket hat, you're like, oh, this is a cool guy or cool girl, or there is never a negative thought associated to bucket hats. I don't think so. If you see someone at a pier fishing and they have a bucket hat, you're like, oh, this guy's a fisherman. If you see someone on I don't know, walking around or jogging with a bucket hat, you're like, oh, maybe a skater, maybe this. There is never have I ever in the existence of bucket hat ever had a negative association with it. So that's why I put bucket hats as top tier. Sneakers, I mean, clothing wise, you know, shoes, Jordans. I was not into Jordans. Actually, I didn't know what Jordans were until like maybe 12 years old. Okay. I think in middle school, that's when, you know, I actually started caring what shoes I would wear, because all the kids were into shoes. And, you know, if you wear a shitty shoe, they would just bully you to another existence. But I just credit Jordans for the 90s. Favorite Jordans out there, probably, I like the 4s, okay? I did like the 7s, but I like the 7s when I was a teenager. Now, I wear cowboy boots. I know this is going to sound crazy, but there is nothing like cowboy boots and straight pants. If you want, what is it? You want fashion advice from me? You need to get yourself a black pair of boots, a brown pair of boots, and some straight pants. And I'm telling you that something boots and pants just give you, I don't know, a sense of confidence that no other shoe can give you. You can go out there, you can buy yourself, I don't know, these people spend $2,000, $3,000 on pairs of shoes. The day you put yourself, I mean, I go on Facebook Marketplace, I look for used boots. I don't buy anything new. But the day you put yourself some leather boots and cowboy boots, and you put straight pants over it, I'm going to tell you right now, you're just going to get this level of confidence that no other shoe can give you. And that's my advice for you today, I guess. Get yourself cowboy boots. Don't believe me. Just go online, look up straight pants, cowboy boots, and you're going to see that there's some, we'll call this swag. There's just some swag to boots. I would recommend, if you got some money to spend, try to get yourself some exotic leather. Maybe some crocodile, ostrich. I know there was like, I don't really like the python look. I think that's a bit. But if you get yourself some exotic level boots and you put straight pants over it, I don't know, man. You're going to have some new level of confidence you haven't gotten before. Trust me. Just trust me on this one. All right. Culture. I would say the 90s for me, Pokemon cards. And I will tell you what. Pokemon cards in the 90s has nothing to do with cards nowadays, okay? Now people just buy cards just to make money. They scalp them. They flip them. Everybody opens up packs. They get the last card. They throw everything away. No. You would have to understand that it was for the pure love of the cards. It was like Pokemon catch 'em all. When I would rip Pokemon cards, my mother actually, she got into the hobby with me. She enjoyed obviously watching me opening them and getting so excited, you know what I mean? But I remember my mom also opening packs. We would go through the cards. She's like, "Oh, you have this one. You already have this one. How many do you have of these?" And then I mean, it was just a beautiful time to open packs. I didn't honestly, yeah, everybody wanted Charizard, whatever. But just having Pokemon cards alone and going through them and put them in your binder, that was just, I mean, that was just a beautiful moment. Like truly, beautiful. My mom, we would go Saturdays to Toys R Us. You don't know what that is? It was basically like a store where it had all the toys in them. They had everything. Imagine walking into a store and it was just full of toys. It's crazy, but Walmart, I guess, is the one. It has like two. This store, it was massive, and it was just toys. It was just things for kids, man. It was such a beautiful place. Like the business obviously ran out of money. I don't know what they did. I didn't check into what Toys R Us failed, but going into Toys R Us and looking at that store and seeing all the toys, the bikes. I remember that bike section. It was just for kids, and kids would lose their shit at Toys R Us. We don't have that anymore. Like it's fucking nuts. Like there isn't. I don't know what kids. I don't have children, okay, but I don't know what kids get excited for nowadays. I teach high school students, so it's much different. But I don't. I generally don't know. I remember going into Toys. I remember going into Toys R Us and losing my mind. Like there was just so much stuff. It was toys. It was just so cool to be in there. Like people would play in Toys R Us sometimes. It was actually crazy. But we would get the cards. We would rip them. I would go through and put them on a binder. I didn't really have anything rare. When I was collecting cards, it was Fossil and Jungle. I didn't really collect. I didn't have first edition anything. I don't even know what that was. I remember the rarest card I ever had was a Dark Blastoise. And then years later, like everybody else, everybody thought they were worthless. And I don't know, we were moving from one place to the next and my mom just threw them all away. And I don't know if they would be worth anything. I don't think they would be worth anything today, but they were nice things to have. I actually might buy some cards now. Just talking about it, maybe getting a set, and just for the memories of time I spent with my mother. Going through packs and stuff. It was just beautiful. Family get-togethers. I'm telling you right now, 90s. I think were peak family. I would legitimately be at a party every weekend, like a family get together. And now as an adult, it sucks, but it's kind of lonely. Like I don't really talk to much of my family. I don't have a big family anymore. We were a giant family. Everybody just started doing their own thing, and I don't know, just family things. And I would say the 90s. I don't know if it's the same for you. Maybe it's just a thing of my family, but I think as the years went by, I don't know. I want to make a video about when I think things went to shit, I would say, and culturally wise. I think it was the Iraq War and then maybe the Great Recession. I mean, this has been a weird timeline since the 90s, but I remember family was more together, I think I spent every weekend at my parents' house. I'm not my parents' house, my family's house, and it was beautiful. Bike culture, man, bike culture was amazing. Like it truly was. I don't think any kid nowadays knows what it is to ride bikes with 20 or 30 kids in a neighborhood. I'm gonna tell you right now, I used to live in a trailer park. I lived in a trailer park in Okeechobee Road in Miami. It was a poor area, okay? We were legitimately maybe 20, 30 kids riding bikes sometimes. We would ride bikes, all kids of different ages, even older, 14, 15, 12, 16, 7, 8. We would ride bike everywhere. I mean, there was 20, 30 bikes. I have an experience that I know most people don't remember, but hide and seek with a group of 20 or 30 kids was the pinnacle of being a human or being a child. I had never in my life had more fun than playing hide and seek with 20 or 30 kids in a trailer park. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know. Was I poor? Sure. But when I asked my parents, I'm like, did you ever feel poor like when you lived in a trailer park and stuff? My parents said no. So my parents legitimately, my father and mother said we had enough to eat, we had enough to pay for the roof, where we stayed at, and whatever little we had, we would use to like, just go to the beach or buy something to go hang out at someone else's house. And I asked my dad, I'm like, what do you remember? And he was saying that, the 90s for him, there was, it's weird because there was no stress. You would work, you would come home, you'd spend time with family. He said he never worried about anything. And yeah, we weren't rich. I lived in a trailer. That's legitimately, I had a bed, I had a bike, I had a few set of clothes, but I didn't feel like I was poor, like truly, I didn't feel I was poor. Um, and then I used to hang out with rich kids. I mean, by my neighborhood, there was houses right behind that were nice. And then by the school where we used to ride bike and go play baseball or play basketball or football, there were rich areas, and I didn't think I was any different than them. Sure, they might have had a nicer bike than me, but I mean, I had a Walmart bike, and they might have had that was a BMX bike. I forgot what it was called. It was nice. It was truly nice. I just forgot the name. I don't know if they make them anymore. Whatever. It was like a rare bike, whatever. And sure, it was nice, but I had a bike. You know what I mean? And they had a bike. We would play sports. I remember one of the kids' mom used to bring us juices. Like she would bring, like later on in the afternoon, she would bring us juices for all of us to drink. And I think, and here's the crazy part, there were girls and boys. I would play with girls and I would play with boys. And there was like a playground there. My God, let me see if I can pull up this park. Let me see. I was trying to figure out how I can record the screen. It took me forever. Let's see. Let's see over here. You can tell I've been, oh shit, my address just leaked. I have to edit this part out. I'll edit it out. I just leaked my address. But anyways, what was I saying? But yeah, it was just a good time. I wish we can go back to those things, those good old times. I put a lot of other things like anime. I didn't really get into anime until I got into Yu Yu Hakusho. That was much later on in my life, but it was basically made in the 90s. This show was really good. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. I would say after the tournament, it's a downhill from there, but up to the tournament and the end of the tournament, it was a really good show. Dragon Ball Z, never watched Dragon Ball. I've watched Dragon Ball Z. And obviously Pokemon was pretty good. I'd said anime had a soul, and it was less weird, like less weirdos in anime, and that's honestly that was true. I think anime was more like it was cool. It was cool, and it wasn't. I don't know, man. I feel like anime is a bit weirder now. I think society has over sexualized everything, and I think anime in that era was not so sexualized. Maybe it was. I was a kid. My perspective is different, but I didn't think about it that way at all, and it was pretty nice. And I wrote, everyone was proud to be an American, and I think that is true in the 90s. I asked my dad how politics were just to have somewhat of an idea. And he basically told me that he never really paid attention to it. It didn't affect his life. It didn't affect anybody's life. And he said everybody was a bit more united. Like, sure, I'm sure there was issues in the 90s. There's always been issues. Humans have always had issues. But he said that from what he remembered in that time, you lived more and you paid attention to politics less. And I think that's a good thing. Now things are fucked. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think now it's either full blown communism on its way or just straight fascism. I mean, I try to I mean, as a teacher, I see the polarity of things, and I'm just like, oh damn, this is not good, And I mean, I try not to talk about politics at all because, like I said, uh, I really just wish everybody would, find some common ground. But I just don't think people just want to find common ground nowadays. I think people just they're upset and they just want to take their anger on everybody else. Everybody's the enemy, and they don't realize that hey, you know, we were the same kids riding bikes together. We're not enemies. It's crazy. Well, I'm gonna stop my video here. Hopefully, I could edit out that part. The videos are kind of clunky. It is what it is. I'm sorry, my first time. But anyways, in the comment section, what do you remember about the '90s? And if any of my stories ever reminisce with yours, if you were thinking about it, I would like to hear from you. Thank you. Have a good one.